Hello. So thank you everybody for joining us. Just one second there and I'll make an adjustment here. Yeah, so my name is Katie McAuliffe. I'm the undergraduate recruitment representative for the Faculty of Arts, Humanities, and I see a mix of people have registered for today's event. So there's some students here, some students who are in secondary school, some people that are mature or QQI teachers, some parents and guardians as well. So there's a mix. And in a while, I'll hand you over to Dr. Scott Fitzsimmons. So he's the Associate Professor for International Relations in the Department of Politics and Public Administration. And he's also the Assistant Dean for Academic Affairs in our faculty. So you've plenty of feathers in your hat, Scott. But I suppose one that's most important for today is that Scott is the incoming course director for this program, the BA in Global Politics. So he's the best person possible and was involved in its development to give an overview of the program. So if you have any questions, we have a Q&A channel. So there's a chat channel which is closed, but there's a Q&A that's open. So anyone with questions can pop their questions into that. And I'll keep an eye on them during the talk, and then I can put them to Scott afterwards. So I might hand over to you, Scott.
Right. Thanks so much, Katie. I'm just going to do my best to share here. I got to scroll back up and then start my slideshow. Oh, okay, here we go. Okay, can everyone see the slides here?
Yeah, that's showing up there. Perfect.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. As Katie mentioned, I'm the incoming course director for the BA in Global Politics. So I get to start off in this role as the degree is brand new, which is great. It's exciting. I did have a role in designing it along with lots of colleagues inside my department and outside as well. So I think probably the question, or at least one of the key questions that you're probably asking yourself is what's really the purpose of the degree, or why did we even design it? Well, we developed this new BA in Global Politics because it's going to allow the University of Limerick to leverage a long-standing area of expertise, which is teaching and learning and research in politics, public administration, and international relations. So we have a wide range of experts in my home department who are specialists in international security, peace and development, international political economy, so like trade, and of course, other aspects of development, political philosophy, the politics of European countries and the European Union, research methods, so learning how to study politics, do statistics, things like that, and also public policy and administration, in addition to a range of other more specific topics. And although myself and my colleagues have always contributed to a range of other degrees that we have here at UL, like the BA Arts or the Bachelor of Science in Social Sciences, which are fantastic programs as well, those existing programs tend to be what we call interdisciplinary in nature, which means they, by design, cover a wide range of subjects, whereas the BA in Global Politics, as its name implies, is going to be a much more specific degree that will provide an unprecedented, unparalleled level of depth in the study of the topic of politics. So we're hoping that it's going to appeal to students who want to do this. Reflecting this goal of providing this really in-depth degree, the program is going to include 5 new and unique modules that are only offered on this degree. So this will include a global politics module, a politics focusing on researching politics, a module on capitalism and justice, so lots of ethical and moral issues related to capitalism, the comparative politics of non-democracy, which means really studying dictatorships, and also foreign policy. So again, these politics modules are unique to this degree, and they're not offered on the other programs that we have here at UL. I'm going to be teaching the foreign policy module, which is a final year module, so you would take it in year 4 of the program. My wife, lucky for me, works for the Department of Foreign Affairs here in Limerick City, and so she's helped me come up with the basic design of the module and the assessments for it. So the assessments for this module, the plan is that they're going to be really policy focused or real world focus. So instead of writing traditional essays, the assignments are going to be the kinds of things that a civil servant or a diplomat in Ireland would write. So like a policy brief about a particular international issue, or coming up with really concise speaking points or speaking notes for a minister who has to respond to questions in the Dáil, things like that. And the reason why we want to do this for a final year module, one of the last modules that you'd be taking in the degree before many of you would be embarking on your careers, is you're going to be able to say on your CV and in job interviews, actually, I know what these kinds of documents are. I've actually written some before, and we're hoping that this is going to give you a key advantage when you're applying for roles in the Irish Civil Service or international organizations or NGOs or a range of other potential career paths. Now, the program is designed to, in particular, we hope, appeal to students who have studied politics at the Leaving Cert level, which is being offered in an ever greater number of schools across Ireland. But it's also really designed to appeal to literally any student who wants to pursue a career in politics, international relations, or public policy and administration, even if they haven't had the opportunity to study politics up to this point. So again, we're hoping that people who are already engaged in the study of politics will really want to take this degree, but it's absolutely fine if you hadn't, because we're going to offer a range of introductory modules in the first year to get you up to speed, even if you have no knowledge or background in the field at all. So you're going to learn about key ideas and concepts and debates and arguments that will prepare you to take the ever more specialized and advanced modules in second year and throughout the rest of the program. In addition to this, the program is designed to help prepare our graduates to transition into the world of work by offering links with NGOs, government departments, and international organizations. Indeed, the program is going to offer co-op placements with organizations like our local councils, national government departments within Limerick and further afield, such as, of course, up in Dublin, including the Department of Foreign Affairs. We're going to offer international co-op placements, which aren't particularly common on other programs, but we're hoping will be very common on this one. So this means potentially doing co-op placements with international organizations, many of which are based in Belgium or Switzerland. So not too far away, thankfully, just a relatively inexpensive Ryanair flight away in most cases. We likewise expect our students to complete their Erasmus semesters partway through the program. So these are semesters where you'll be abroad in another university in another country, and you'll gain experience not only learning in perhaps a different way, but living and socializing within a different culture, and hopefully making a lot of friends as part of that process. And I should point out, I'll get back to it in a little more detail later, but students who wish to take what we're calling the language pathway on this program will also have the opportunity to enhance their knowledge and proficiency in any of 4 different languages that we offer here at UL. Okay, now I'd like to get into a little more detail as to the structure of the program, which is another thing that I'm sure everyone on the call is particularly interested in. There are 2 pathways in the program. The boring name for the pathway that a lot of students will probably take is what we're just calling the standard pathway. Someday we'll come up with a better name, but it simply means the pathway that doesn't include the study of a second language. So it's absolutely fantastic. It just does not include a second language. As you can see, when we're looking at year 1, 8 out of 10 of the modules that you would take in year 1, or 4 out of 5 in each semester, are politics modules. So this reflects the incredible amount of depth that you would get in terms of the study of politics on this program compared to any of our other programs. Any other program we offer, whether it be the BA in European Studies or the BA Arts or the Bachelor of Science in Social Sciences, you can't take as many politics modules in first year as you can on this program. But besides taking mostly politics modules, you will have a choice of an elective in a related subject in both autumn and spring. So we have sociology, geography, and history. The purpose of this is not only to give you just a bit of a taste of another subject, but also it's to help provide what we could call an off-ramp for students who decide they like studying at UL, but maybe they figure out that politics isn't their preferred subject. So they will have already gained experience in one of these other subjects, and they can transition into one of our more interdisciplinary degrees like the BA Arts, and they won't be behind because they've already taken the introductory modules in an alternative subject. And then their politics modules could just count as options or electives on their other program. So we, of course, want to keep you here at UL, even if you decide you ultimately want to switch to another degree after year one. And we're setting up this degree to help you do this. Now, in the spring semesters of year one, as well as the autumn semesters of year two, our students are going to take exclusive modules. Sorry, I should say the autumn and spring semesters of year two. Students will take some of the exclusive modules on our program, like the global politics module, researching politics module, and capitalism and social justice module. And given that we expect that this program is going to have fewer students in it than our large degrees like the BA Arts, these modules, which again are exclusive to this degree, are going to be run more like upper year seminars, because again, we'll just have fewer students in the room compared to your other first and second year modules. And this means they can be more discussion based. We can have much more interaction, much more back and forth between the instructor and the students, and also, of course, between the students themselves. So you get a taste of the more advanced module style that you would normally have to wait until fourth year to get in a lot of other programs. And that simply facilitates a different kind of more interactive learning. Following this, our students are going to go on their co-op placement starting in the summer of year two, and they'll continue this placement into the autumn of year three, after which they're going to embark on their Erasmus exchange. So the structure of the program means that all of third year will be spent outside the classroom off campus. And following this, when you return to campus in year four, our students will be offered quite a bit of choice in terms of their modules, since these semesters will feature just 2 core modules each, and then you'll have your choice of choosing from a whole range of different elective modules as well. One of which is one of the, actually 2 of which are the exclusive modules that will be offered in the spring. So the comparative politics of non-democracy, focusing on dictatorships, and that foreign policy module that I'll be teaching, which I mentioned earlier. So you don't have to take those modules if you prefer to take one of the other ones, but you're certainly going to be very welcome to take these ones. And they will be, again, fairly small groups in them. So you'll get a lot of one-on-one and small group attention. Okay, now the language pathway, the alternative way to do the program, is broadly similar in structure to the standard pathway, except that it does include the opportunity to enhance your knowledge and proficiency of any of 4 different languages. So you can choose to study French, Spanish, German, or Japanese. The fact that you can study Japanese is also, for now at least, a unique feature of this program, because we don't currently offer Japanese on many of our other interdisciplinary undergraduate programs. And we have a growing Japanese teaching unit in our university, so we're really excited that we can offer this language on this particular program. In year one, just like in the standard pathway, you'll mainly be taking politics modules, and then you'll also have your language module in autumn and spring. And then in year two, you will only have 1 required module or core module per semester, one of which will be an exclusive module. These, and in both semesters, they will be research-focused modules. You'll also have your choice of a few different politics electives, as well as your language modules to further enhance your proficiency. As in the standard pathway, you'll start your co-op semester in summer of year 2. That will continue into the autumn, and then you will embark on your Erasmus semester. And of course, we will work with the Erasmus office, which we call UL Global, to try to find co-op placements and certainly Erasmus placements in countries that will allow you to further enhance your language ability. So if you want to study Japanese, we are going to do everything possible to get you to Japan so that you can immerse yourself in the language and the culture there. Finally, as with the standard pathway in year 4, you're going to have a broad range of elective choices, just a couple of core modules per semester, wide range of electives, and then your most advanced French, Spanish, German, or Japanese modules. So overall, both really, really well-structured pathways, we hope, and it's up to you to decide whether you would like to include a second language or not. Okay, now the program is designed to include a whole range of critical skills in our students, everything from critical thinking and analysis to research skills, problem solving and decision-making skills, communication skills, understanding of policy and different cultures, as well as teamwork and collaboration and professional and career readiness. All of these critical skills we are including in order to prepare our students to embark on careers. Certainly, I should say, we're very, very happy and welcoming to students who would like to do a master's degree or even a PhD after they complete this degree. But we expect that most of our students will want to get into the world of work fairly quickly, start embarking on their careers. And so with this in mind, I just want to identify a few different career paths that we think would be particularly attractive to our students. So, for example, we expect that many of our students will go on to work for the National Civil Service of Ireland or the Civil Service of another country or for county councils. This program is going to make them very well prepared to pursue careers in, for example, diplomacy, policy analysis, espionage, political advising, risk analysis, and public affairs. In addition, we expect that quite a few of our graduates are going to go on to work in the fields of international development and humanitarian assistance, which are key components of the Government of Ireland's approach to foreign policy. Ireland is one of the countries that spends for the overall size of its budget, a fairly sizable amount on international aid. That happens to be the area of work that my wife works in here in Limerick, and quite a few of the foreign affairs roles in our city are related to international development and humanitarian assistance. So if you're interested in that field, you don't have to leave town to do it. You can work right down on Henry Street or in the near future in the Opera Center in the new tower that's being built there. Moreover, we expect that a heck of a lot of our graduates are going to want to work in various departments and agencies that make up the European Union, the United Nations, and a range of other international organizations, many of which are either headquartered in Europe or have major satellite offices in Europe. Furthermore, this program is going to provide our students to take on a whole range of different corporate roles, like overseeing corporate social responsibility. So how does a corporation deal with society in a responsible way so that they're not simply pursuing profit at all cost? That's a key role that every organization, particularly medium and large corporations, have to fulfill. In addition, any medium or large corporation needs to deal with government regulations and laws and policies and things like that, and they need employees who are knowledgeable about how governments work in order to help them do this. In addition, lots of corporations, particularly in a very internationalized country like Ireland, are involved in international sales and service. So again, they need very worldly students who understand how other countries work and the different perspectives that dominate throughout the world to help corporations do this, as well as students who, or employees, I should say, that have the knowledge required to effectively lobby governments and also politicians to help convince them to, in effect, support a corporation's interests. So again, this requires a good working knowledge of public policy and politics and international relations, things like that. So while we expect that a lot of our graduates are going to work in what could broadly be called the public sector, so governments, NGOs, international organizations, we are certainly going to prepare our students to work in the corporate sector as well, if that's their preferred route. And of course, we expect that at least some of our graduates will pursue careers in electoral politics as politicians or political advisors. We have a recent graduate in one of our interdisciplinary programs who's a counselor, actually one of my counselors, because I live in County Clare. So this isn't simply a hypothetical. This actually does happen. And she certainly attributes the politics training that she received at UL with the success she's had in politics so far. Okay, now I just want to mention that because this is a new program, we can't be absolutely certain what the final points numbers are going to look like, because we need to process all the applications first to know this. But we're optimistic that the points are going to be closer to UL's Bachelor of Science in Social Sciences. So something more in the mid 400s than to the BA Arts, which is more in the mid to low 300s. But we'll just have to see. We're certainly, of course, looking forward to reading and processing the applications and to having a good, robust group of students in September. And I'll be, of course, meeting them personally then. So that's all I have, and I'm happy to take any questions that you might have. And I'll stop sharing. Okay.
Great. Yeah. Some questions have come in already, and if anybody else has additional ones they want to put in there, please do. So the first one here is, do students look at conflicts in the world today, or how recent are the examples that you look at? So I suppose how up to date are the topics that you're looking at? Obviously, you're looking at, broadly, historical or political theories, but how up to date do you get in the modules?
That's a fantastic question, particularly for me. I'm probably the best person in my department to answer that, because one of the topics I have taught about for years is what we call the causes of wars. So all the different explanations for why wars happen. Everything focusing on the psychology of leaders, to how different kinds of governments work, like do democracies work different than dictatorships? Are democracies more peaceful than dictatorships? To things like the global balance of power and stuff like this. So to understand the world, not only do we use theories like this or perspectives, but we also, of course, have to look at recent history, distant history. We go as far back as ancient China and ancient Greece and Rome, but also we need to look at how these perspectives and historical examples can help us understand more contemporary examples. So in classes I'm teaching, we're talking about the war in Ukraine, we're talking about the war in Gaza, and various other conflicts. We'll be talking about the recent upsurge in violence in Kashmir between India and Pakistan. We'll bring that in next year. And again, we use historical examples to help us understand what's happening now, because very few human developments are truly unique. There are always at least some parallels or connections we have. So if you're interested in history and also contemporary events, you should be well served.
You get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
I just see a question that came in here from Kate, which I can answer, I think, but would you be at a disadvantage if you don't study a language? I suppose in terms of admissions, I can talk to that, but you wouldn't be. So there's a language pathway which is optional on the program. You would still need to meet UL's minimum subject requirements. So that would be English, mathematics, and then we have only a third, so we don't have a third language requirement, it's just a second one. So you would either have to have Irish or another language or an exemption. So the answer for admissions is no, but I suppose in terms of future career paths, it's not that you would be disadvantaged, it's just I suppose that there might be even more opportunities for somebody who has a language along with this course. That's kind of my take on it anyway.
Yeah, and I can because I certainly know lots of people in the civil service and whatnot. You don't have to have proficiency in any second language right at the outset. So if you were to even join Ireland's Department of Foreign Affairs, where you might do postings overseas, you would be given extra training in a language before you go on posting. But of course, it is easier if you have some background in it to do this, because of course learning a language in 6 months or 9 months from zero is tough. So I would encourage anyone who feels they're up to it to seriously consider the language pathway, but the standard pathway is fantastic as well. That's why we have the two. The choice is yours.
Great. Yeah. Lovely. Okay, so that answered that. And then I see Kira has a question here, more about kind of the fit for the program. So what type of person is the best fit for studying politics? And Kira says, I have an interest in current affairs, but I don't study politics in school. So do you see a trend in the kind of attributes or interests that students have who do well on politics, Scott, that come through your classes?
I'd say, Kira, you have the most important attribute. It is interest in politics. And I would say this, if I was the course director for a different degree, like a sociology degree or a linguistics-based degree, we want our students to be interested in the subject matter of the degree. So if you have that passion and that interest, you'll do fine. We're not expecting you to be an expert in politics on day one. That's my job. I'm here to, over the course of a few years, turn you into an expert. But if you have no background, that is absolutely fine. We're going to start you from zero effectively. Now, if you've studied it at your Leaving Cert, great. You'll be a little perhaps better prepared, but we're not requiring that. There's no expectation that you have that knowledge already. What we really want is, again, the interest.
And then there's just a couple of questions about the languages. So I suppose there is a H3 requirement for students to take a language pathway, because there's a question about Japanese there. So on this course, you wouldn't be able to take it at beginner's level, but on other programs within the faculty, I'm correct in saying that, Scott, aren't I?
Yeah,
like applied languages,
yeah.
You can take beginner's Japanese, but actually that's probably the only other one actually would be applied languages, where Japanese is available at beginners. But on this course, you're expected to be building on a knowledge that you have from the Leaving Cert.
Yeah, and I can explain that the reason for this, and it's something that we certainly had a lot of discussions about, is that, as you would have noticed when I was going through the structure, we only have one language module per semester, which means compared to an alternative program that we offer, like the BA in Applied Languages, we'll take several modules per semester in your chosen second language. We just cannot fit in all the politics and all the language modules we would love to be able to offer. And that requires you to have a higher kind of starting basis for learning a language. And we don't want students to flounder in by taking a language that they just aren't really able to excel in. That's why, again, we set a reasonably high standard for them. But we do, if you're more interested in taking a language right from starting, we do offer other programs at UL, like the BA in Applied Languages.
Yeah, great. Okay, so I don't see any other new questions there that we haven't answered, but I might just raise one or two that I guess asked all the time. So one is, do you still go abroad even if you're not doing a language? And the answer is yes. So
Yes.
You would just go to one of our English speaking partners where you're taught through English, but you can pick up beginners languages sometimes while you're over there as well. If you go to Spain, they might do an intro to Spanish or something like that. So you can pick up from there as well. The other questions I get are about picking your destination. So I'm sure you've seen, Scott, students trying to decide between different destinations for their Erasmus or exchange, but they're given a lot of guidance by UL Global, aren't they, as well, in terms
Absolutely.
of cost and which destination might be best,
Yeah, and we luckily as a department, well UL Global sort of handles the administrative aspects of setting up the placements and things like that. We as a department also play a role in establishing new links or maintaining good links with other universities. And by chance, just a couple of weeks ago, I was doing that because actually as instructors, we get to go too, if we'd like, on shorter exchanges. They usually last about a week. And I visited one of our partner universities, which is called Palacky University in Olomouc, which is in the Czech Republic. Fantastic university and city, 100,000 people, so the same size as Limerick, except it's much more compressed, so you can walk everywhere. There, I think 25% or more of everyone in the city is a university student. It just seemed like a lot of fun. The students were great. And given that I was basically acting as a substitute teacher there, I can tell you that they offer really, really interesting international relations modules. So, and that's just one example. We have dozens and dozens of places to go. You'll have lots and lots of options. If again, you can go to an English speaking country or a country that will at least teach in English, or if you want to keep building on your language, you can go to Spain or France or any other country that will allow you to build on that. So the choice is yours. I see some other language related questions actually. So Tig said that our language course is designed to build on an existing language skill. Again, ours are, so we're expecting at least some proficiency. So they'd be kind of advanced, or sorry, I should say kind of intermediate and up is where we're hoping to go, rather than it being truly introductory. The Japanese, I can see Ella's got a question about that. It will again be more intermediate and will lead to an advanced proficiency over the course of the program, plus of course being immersed in the language during your Erasmus and also hopefully your co-op semester too.
And those two elements, the co-op and the Erasmus, like they're built into the program because they help students determine what they want to do when they finish. Like they help them to grow, make connections, but they also really help a student stand out on a CV. You know, if you're being screened for something, a job or further opportunity when you finish, it might be that mention of where you went on co-op or the type of role that you had and the reference that you got from a work placement that puts you that little bit above somebody else who didn't have that opportunity. So they're really key to building on the skills you get in the classroom, you know, and that's what our students tell us. And actually, speaking of the classroom, Luca has a question here, which is another kind of common one I get. What are the assessments like? So is it more exams or project based? It obviously differs for every different module, I suppose, but in the main.
Yeah, it does vary. We tend to be a department that doesn't focus very heavily on end of semester exams. We do have some, but fewer than some of our other departments in the Faculty of Arts, which means that most of our assessments take some, or I should say, are some form of written assignment, which means you'll have a deadline, which will be spelled out on day one in the module outline, and you will likely be expected to visit the library or do some online research or something like that. And you might be asked to produce an essay or review a book, for example, do a critical analysis of it, provide a presentation perhaps in a class. But occasionally there will be either an in-class or an end of semester exam, though that, again, that's relatively rare in politics modules.
Yeah, so time management then becomes a very important skill for our students, because you'll have 5 modules every semester and they'll each have their own set of assessments, you know. So it does become important that you have your semester mapped out ahead of you and you're given support kind of on how to do that. It's especially at the beginning of your degree. But you'll need to get used to pretty quickly, if I'm right, Scott, of like having a map of your semester ready.
It is often considered one of the most important aspects of the transition from secondary school to university. Is you will be an adult now, so there's a little more responsibility on your shoulders. But with that said, as a department, we've been doing this for years and we certainly will continue it. The instructors for all of the politics modules in every semester, we meet before the semester starts to coordinate deadlines, because we don't want students to have 5 assignments due on one day. We know that's terrible for them, and we know that they're not going to necessarily be able to produce their best work if they have to hand 5 things in at once. So we try to space things out. But regardless, week 1, or at least by week 2, I would say, of any semester, it would be good to look at your module outlines and say, okay, when do I have things due? And if you do that, you're almost certainly going to be absolutely fine, because you're not going to have lots and lots of stuff due every week. Things are going to be spaced out, but you just have to keep on top of your deadlines. If you can do that, you're fine. And if you have trouble, you come to your module leader or you come to me, and there's a solution to every problem. So the worst thing that you can do as a university student is just not communicate, and let problems pile up. If you're finding you're stressed or you need help on any matter, there's always someone who's going to be there to help you. We've been doing this for years. We have an answer for basically every issue or every question, and we don't expect you to understand how everything works on day one or even by the end of your degree. So just feel free, regardless of whether you take this degree or a different one, just reach out.
Okay, I think that covers all of the questions that were coming in from the chat, unless anybody has any last minute ones that you'd like to put in, and then please do, I suppose. Maybe can I put you on the spot, Scott? I should have asked you this beforehand, but sometimes people ask about the final year project and kind of interesting titles or topics. I don't know if you're an FYP supervisor or if you've had any in the past that jump out at you, or interesting topics that you could say.
Sure. Let's see. I'll try to remember them. We do have a wide range of interesting topics. These days we as supervisors tend to create a list of sample topics, because we know it can be really stressful for a student to have to come up with an entirely original topic. So we just hope that you'll sort of have your own spin or take on one of the existing topics. So for my students, popular ones include taking a war, often a contemporary one that's going on right now, like say the war in Gaza, and applying a particular theory to assess the ethics or morality of the war. Seeing whether the behavior of the people participating in the war, so it'd be Hamas and the Israeli military in this case, how do they stack up against this ethical framework? So it encourages students to read the news, read reports, things like that, and really understand a war from a particular moral perspective. I also do ones on whether terrorist groups are effective at accomplishing their goals. And so I encourage a student to take one group or a handful of groups and then look at what they did. A lot of people just assume that terrorism works all the time, whereas in reality, it actually doesn't work most of the time, thankfully. But I want students to just understand that and be able to make a good argument. Some of my colleagues looking at other areas will look at things like social justice. So this could be an international issue, or it could be something much more contemporary. So it could be, say, like transgender rights, or a particular aspect of it. That's, of course, an issue that has a lot of debate and discussion in public policy right now. And then other colleagues might have very specific topics on, say, like the politics of a particular country. So my colleague Neil Robinson, who's a specialist in Russia, he'd be the guy to go to if you want to study Vladimir Putin or something about Russian politics. So you'd find across all my colleagues and myself literally several dozen suggested topics that you can, again, kind of tweak and put your own spin on. So you have lots and lots of options in your final year project.
Yeah, and that project then is a culmination of all your studies, and often students will pick a topic that's related to what they have decided might be their, the path that they want to pursue. So it's a nice way to tie everything in a little bow and really put all your work into a kind of a nice capstone for your degree.
Yeah, for anyone on the call who might be a bit worried about a big project, it's going to be years down the road, and you get lots and lots of preparation, in addition to having a supervisor to help you out. And as Katie mentioned, really, we hope that you'll choose a topic on the basis of your interests. So if you like international security, you might come to me. If you like political theory, you might go to my colleague, Andrew Shorten, about this. Just depends on where your interests lie, say, 3 years from now or 3.5 years from now. So nothing to worry about for a little while.
Brilliant. Okay, I don't see any other questions coming in. I actually just have one more. I'm sorry, Scott, that again
Yeah,
I
no
get
problem.
asked a lot, so I'm acting as a proxy for the audience, and then we'll let everybody go. But in terms of your classroom time, you know, students on humanities degrees typically have less contact time, meaning time in the classroom, compared to like a science student or a nursing student. I suppose, what advice would you give somebody looking at the degree in terms of what they should be doing in their own time, reading wise, or do you have any advice on that side of
Sure.
the house?
Great question. Because again, being organized is one of the most important aspects of being a student. Um, Most of our modules feature usually 2 hours of what we're going to call lecture time. Won't necessarily be, say, someone speaking at you from the front of the classroom. It could be more interactive, but it's usually 2 hours per week of lecture time, and then we'll have an hour devoted to something else. It could be time spent in a computer lab if it's a research methods class where you're learning how to use like statistical software, or in a lot of my modules, it would be a discussion-based hour where the class would be broken into smaller groups, and we would talk about a particular set of issues related to whatever the lecture's on that week. And when it comes to managing your time outside the classroom, I'd say really the key thing is keep on top of your module outlines, see what readings have been assigned, and then just really try to do them in advance of the lectures. You're going to get much more out of the lectures if you do the readings in advance, and you're absolutely going to get much more out of those discussion groups if you do the usually much shorter readings that are assigned for those. So in my classes, I would assign opinion pieces from a whole range of newspapers from a variety of different perspectives, so that we can talk about them. Like, do you agree with this author or this author? Why? Things like that. If you haven't read them, it's going to be a little bit harder, but I'd still say if you haven't read the particular readings for a week, still come to class. We don't want you to be worried ever about coming to class. We don't tend to teach in a way where we're putting you on the spot by any means. And we absolutely are never going to make you feel foolish or something. We have very positive, welcoming classroom experiences, I think you'll find. So again, try to do as many of the readings as you can, but we want to see your smiling faces in class one way or the other.
Yeah, brilliant. I think that might be a nice point to leave it on. So, Scott, unless there's anything else that you'd like to say or anything that you feel like we haven't covered.
I don't think so. No, that's everything. I really appreciate everyone who's been able to join us this evening, and I of course hope to see all of you in September. And if you have any other questions about this program or other programs, you can always reach out to Katie. If it's about this program, certainly reach out to me. And any question that I can't answer myself about, say, the broader faculty, I can always put you in touch with someone who will be able to help. So I'd love to have you
Great.
on this program, but I want to have you here at UL one way or the other. And we have a wide range of fantastic undergrad degrees.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's about finding the right fit
Yeah,
for you. So even if you joined
absolutely.
the event today and thought, you know what, actually not for me, that can be positive as well because there might be
Hmm.
something else that's a better fit. But we hope some of
Yeah.
you found it interesting. And I'm going to put Scott's email address in here as well, and you'll have mine because I'll have been emailing you regularly about this coming up, and I'll send a thank you email tomorrow. And we'll say goodbye and good night to everybody. Thank you for joining us again.
Thanks, everyone.